Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about toxic positivity because this is something that has been a little bit infiltrated in the spiritual community, and I definitely got sucked into this during my journey. I think it was around about 2017 when I'd come across a channeler on YouTube called, oh my God, Abraham Hicks. And her message, whilst a lot of it really resonated with me at the time, and I would say that I am naturally positively polarised rather than negatively polarised. I am naturally that being. I have been most of my life, so for me to be positive is almost a natural state of being. Anyway, however, when I started coming across these teachings, it really much almost teaches you that, you know, if you focus on the negative, and I have taught this before, if you focus, thinking this was the truth, right, if you focus on the negative, that you're gonna expand that. So don't focus on what is. So it kind of teaches you not to focus on what is, to ignore what is, and just to focus on what you want. Now, so just be positive, right? Just ignore the negative and focus on the positive and keep being positive. And if you do that, you're going to grow the positive and you're going to shrink the negative. But that is an inversion. It's not the truth. Because when we do that, I mean, there's truths in there, and that's why we get pulled into it, because there is truths in there, and there's part of our being that knows some of those truths. But there's also inversions in there, as we will see, as you will find if you're not already finding in all systems, education, medicine, science, all communities are infiltrated with these false narratives that are there to keep us in fear, lack, and keep us down. So this just focusing on the positive, because it's true that where you put your focus and your attention, energy just flow there, and it can grow. Okay, so that is a truth. So it seems okay, and you kind of think, okay, well, if I just keep focusing on the positive, because we are creator beings and we manifest through our thoughts, and we manifest through, but it's not just, well, we do manifest through our thoughts, but it's not just our thoughts that we manifest for. In fact, it's not actually the thoughts, it's the feelings, it's the energy attached to the thoughts. So what happens when we just try and focus on positivity and we ignore the negativity? Well, the negativity doesn't cease to exist, it doesn't go away, and in fact it starts to direct your life because you're not resolving it, you're not alchemizing it, I should say. You're not throwing light onto it to alchemize it, to transform it, to transmute it, to integrate it. So it is growing and it does direct your life. So this really put me into a little bit of debt in 2021 when I'd left my full-time job to start my new business, and I wasn't getting enough clients. It was a little bit of a awakening to, it's not always that easy to start a new business and to get up to the levels that I needed to sustain my expenses at the time. But all these teachings of manifestation and spiritual law of attraction was basically just all teaching you, look, just focus on what you want. Don't focus on the fact that you're not getting any clients, that you don't have enough money coming in. Just focus on this and all will be well. It'll just start to materialize. You just have to believe it. Well, that's BS. And that's why, you can see you have millions of people that follow this, but you might have an odd few people that manifest that way, because you can't change the truth of the energy. And all that did was delay me from taking action. And a lot of it as well is about not taking action. But if you think about it, spiritual law of attraction, action, you have to take action. And we should not ignore what is. Now, we don't have to be in fear of what is, but we do have to face it. We do have to acknowledge it. We do have to accept it, and that is the start of integration, and that is the start of transmutation. So when it comes to positivity, yes, of course it is good to be positive. I'm not saying that being positive is bad or wrong, of course not. However, if you are being positive and ignoring all negativity as if it doesn't exist, then that's when it becomes toxic. That's when it becomes just as destructive as focusing on negative and being pulled down and dwelling on negative and sitting in negativity in fear. Just as destructive. So when it comes to positivity, I just wanted to bring that out there into the consciousness, because there's still lots of spirituality that teaches about ignoring the negative. We should not ignore the negative. The negative is not wrong, it's not bad, it just is. And if we don't look at it, how can we transmute it? How can we integrate it? We cannot. So that energy is still there, and that energy will be growing and will be directing your life, but unconsciously, rather than you deliberately working with it. Once we start to acknowledge the negativity, once we start to acknowledge those things, like, for me, as soon as I acknowledged and came to my senses and were like, Corinne, you're not bringing in enough money. Like, you need to get a part-time job so that your expenses can be paid, because you've got a mortgage to pay. You can't just sit there going, yes, it's going to come in, it's going to come. Obviously, I didn't quite do it like that, but you know what I mean. These are what they teach. And once I came to acceptance and I acknowledged what is, I got a contracting job for a few days. It sorted out my finances straight away, and now my business has been growing organically, and I haven't had that pressure, because all that pressure, because even though I was focusing on getting the clients, etc., in the back of my mind I knew it wasn't materializing. So I had that energy of anxiety, that energy of stress. So now that I've got that, now that I took action, stopped ignoring what was and faced what was, and got a job to pay the bills while I build up my business has just started growing organically, and I'm just so much happier and so much more in flow, and I'm so much more creative, because I've not got my energy trapped, being ignored, waiting to be acknowledged. And that's what it's doing, and it won't just go away. And in fact, I love this quote I love this. I'm going to paraphrase here because I don't remember exactly, but I remember hearing Tony Robbins say this, and I thought this perfectly explains the inversion about this just being positive. And it was, what he said is, you can go out and look in your garden and you can see that weeds are growing, and you can go out and you can say to those weeds, there is no weeds in my garden, there is no weeds in my garden. He said, and you can say that every day for a year, but those weeds will still be there. You've got to go out and get your hands and rip the fuckers out of the ground. Exactly. You've got to face them, you've got to acknowledge them, you've got to take action. And that doesn't mean by facing them, it doesn't mean by acknowledging them that you're making them more, that you're calling more into your reality. It's the exact opposite. By acknowledging them, you start to transmute them, you start to dissolve them, you start to alchemize them. So again, it's not looking at the things that you don't necessarily want in your life, that are not exactly in alignment with where you want to be. It's not looking at them with judgment. It's not looking at them with fear. It's just acknowledging what is, and that's what I did. I looked at it and I said, you know what? Okay, I've got to go back. I'm going to go back to where I used to work and ask them if they've got any work from me. And I thought, do you know what? I'm going to see it how it truly is. Not that I'm a failure because I'm having to go back. What I saw it as, do you know what? I've built a great foundation. I'm, taking risks here. I'm pushing myself out of my comfort zone every single day, and I am growing, and boy am I growing, and it's okay to go back and get some work. It's not a failure. And I just told myself the truth. I didn't judge myself for it, and everything changed.